Oklahoma City has always been our home. He was born here, St. Anthony's. He grew up here, went to school in Del City, suburb of Oklahoma City. Probably a lot of what set Rick's personality in place and the way he's done things is, when we were growing up, our dad always watched the news. And if the president was speaking on television, we had to sit down and watch it. And when Dad would subscribe to the Daily Oklahoman, he also subscribed, we had an evening newspaper then called the Oklahoma City Times. He subscribed to both papers, and then the Oklahoma Journal came out in the 60s, and he subscribed to that. So we had 2 morning papers and an evening paper, and we were all reading the paper, absorbing what was going on. So right there, you can see what has set Rick in place. He started out absorbing as much as he could about the local scene, national scene, and he incorporated that in his life and his career. When he started in junior high to work on a campaign staff for a gentleman running for governor, then you saw that spark was there. When he was going back to college with already had a young family, he was working with the post office. Well, he immediately got into their union, which then involved him with political stuff, and so he loved that. His first professor that really encouraged him to get into this business was Henry Bellman at UCO. He referred Rick to Congressman Mickey Edwards' staff, and that's where Rick started, was with the congressman, and then he went to work for mayor.
Rick was my chief of staff at the city. He probably was involved in the 2 biggest issues during my tenure as mayor. First being the MAPS project, the original MAPS. He was a key component on all the meetings to organize MAPS, which was really a very difficult procedure to try to propose something as new and as innovative as that whole project, and then to also be able to convince the general public that it was a good idea. Probably his greatest contribution is when we were kind of in the finalization of MAPS. We thought, well, we got to have a name. Everybody's got to have a name for whatever this election is. And we were thinking, well, do we need to hire a consulting firm or do something? And Rick says, well, why don't we just call it MAPS? And really? And he said, yeah, Metropolitan Area Projects. And I think that's probably the most well-recognized name of anything in this city is MAPS, and you can give 100% credit to that to Rick Moore, because he's the one that came up with that. And I don't know if it just off the top of his head or he'd been thinking about it, but it just popped out. And from then on, MAPS has been a name that's known around this city.
When Rick and I would be downtown or somewhere in that vicinity, we would talk about what MAPS might bring, and we would talk about how we might be another San Antonio or another Dallas, or that kind of forward thinking is what MAPS was really all about.
As they created something with the first MAPS and they started that momentum, the amount of additional tax dollars that have been brought in to the city and the private dollars tied to that, it's helped everybody. I think it's why we're the 6th fastest growing city in the country right now, is because the forethought in the late 80s.
Second thing that would be he was heavily involved in, which was not so pleasant, was the Murrah bombing. He was my chief of staff in '95 when the bombing happened, and that episode is nothing that any of us at City Hall had ever trained for. I mean, you don't expect something like that to happen. And he was instrumental in helping handle the press.
When they heard the explosion, Rick headed towards where the smoke was. And when he got down there, he told me about, it's just a massive scene of devastation. And so he said people were trying to do whatever they could to help. It was just an amazing effort, he said, of people downtown trying to help people or just search or whatever they could do at that moment. And then he eventually got back to City Hall, and they had sent a lot of the staff home, not knowing at the time they thought it was a terrorist attack. It was going to be a concerted effort. And I remember the governor released the state employees too. And so Rick stayed and answered the main phone at City Hall. He's just an even flow kind of guy, and you know, he really takes on some kind of a great moment, you know, and works on it without stress, and that, you know, that includes the Murrah building, includes maps, and now he's working as director of the Oklahoma Municipal Contractors Association, and he has to help them with all their problems that they have with workers, with, you know, permits.
I think the OMCA has a really strong voice based on what Rick has done through his career there. I think he's made OMCA better and more respected.
Under his tutelage, we've changed the culture of the industry and the relationship with the municipalities, mainly Oklahoma City, but all of the municipalities within the metro, from a way that it was old school to a way that we now communicate with the city, and it's a friendlier conversation. It's a win-win. We're the only municipal contractors association left in the country under the AGC, thriving because of our leadership. And I mean, that in itself is something that's, his legacy is going to be impossible to replicate.
I think he holds Oklahoma City as something special, something he wants to see continue to get better. You know, the announcement of the Olympics, he was so excited about that. He's very supportive of the things that our mayor does. You know, and anything that we can do as an organization to help the city, that's what we try to do.
Through our years together, through the OMCA, he led us through a lot of great times at the J.D. McCarty Center, which was our organization's chosen charity every year for a long time. There was a Christmas party, and our group was doing all the gifts for the kids, and one little boy, all he wanted to do was meet Toby Keith. How in the world are you going to do that? Toby's a very busy man. And we went to that party. Nobody knew if it was going to happen or not. And all the kids got great little bags of presents. And then Toby shows up, just for this one little boy. Rick was adamant we had to make this happen, and he wasn't going to stop pulling levers until it did. And it was really, really special. He didn't want any thanks. He didn't want any recognition, but he's the reason that happened. And what a special treat it was to watch.
Over time, especially over probably the last 10 years, I've really grown closer to Rick, and I admire his faith. It's been a pleasant change for me to see an organization like this really hold on to their pride to be an American, and then their faith.
He's always going out of his way to pitch in and help, and where he finds time to do it all, I don't know.
He got his doctorate during the time that he's worked at OMCA, and so as it is a very busy job, but he's stayed even more busy. You know, he taught class at UCO, he's taught class at Oklahoma City.
He's a great family man, dear friend.
With 6 kids in the family, he's got a lot to be a father for, but he's always balanced that well. And his desire to work in this area of politics and government was supported by his wife, Vicki.
He has always been right in the center of the fight when we've got it doesn't matter if it's a bond issue or something with the city or the county. He's always there.
He's good at what he does. He's good with his family. He's good with his church. He's good with everything that I've known him to be. Everybody likes to be around positive people, and Rick is one of those gentlemen that is truly positive.
There's a world of endless color waiting for us to discover. run into the open wide, where dreamers come alive. We can see a new horizon, we can feel adventure calling. Step out on the open road, into the great unknown. Here we
Mr. Rick Moore, congratulations.
Hey, Rick, my friend, I couldn't be prouder.
I want to particularly congratulate you on being the Citizen of the Year for the South Oklahoma City Chamber. I think it is well deserved, and I'm happy for you and your family.
You know, you've always been a part of South Oklahoma City. Growing up and living down here and working down here, you really deserve this recognition, and I'm very pleased that they've seen fit to do this.
I couldn't be prouder of you, my friend. Well done, sir.